This is Cindy. Welcome to Cindy's Library. Today it's time to talk about what I have read for the first half of the month. Jane Austen July. So I have already completed 2 books, which is just as well since next week it's the family reunion. And I cannot guarantee how much reading I will be able to get done then. But I have finished 2. So I have finished Mansfield Park. I love Fanny Price. Oh, and in case anyone was wondering, I have started not sure I'm doing full annotations, but I'm underlining. I have 2 quotes marked here and I am tabbing. For this book, pink is either Edmund being awesome to Fanny, or Fanny and or Edmund being in love. Yellow is character. Green is theme. Purple. What is purple? Oh, purple. That is all of Fanny's thoughts and feelings. So no, she doesn't say a lot, but as you can see, she has a lot of thoughts and feelings. Some people think Fanny is too quiet. She's insipid because she never says anything or does anything. Well, that doesn't mean she doesn't have thoughts or feelings. And as for the reason why she is so passive, why should she say anything? Why should she do anything if no one is going to listen to her, not even Edmund sometimes? Unless she acts the way everyone wants, she's going to be in trouble, and she is dependent on her aunts and uncle for her education and her keep there. So I am not surprised that she is so quiet beyond her natural disposition. So, and that doesn't mean doesn't have strong feelings or opinions, or that she isn't strong in acting on them in the end. Let's see. Blue was, oh yes, blue was everyone else falling in or out of love. There's a fair amount of that in this book too. And orange is Mrs. Norris being annoying, which we have a fair amount of here. So, yeah, I love Mansfield Park, and what can I say? I can't give a Jane Austen ranking until I read Emma again. I want to give it a fair shot, but I love Mansfield Park, and I feel a lot for Fanny, probably because I identify a lot with her and being fairly quiet and being a lot in my own thoughts and feelings. So, and there are 2 quotes in particular that I really enjoyed, so I want to share them with you. This is one. This is one where it's probably a fairly typical evening. I think the Crawfords are there. I don't know that Mr. Yates has arrived yet, although Mr. Rushworth is probably here. But this is the quote. Fanny spoke her feelings. Oh, and I should say this is after she is at a window looking outside for a while. Fanny spoke her feelings. Here is harmony, said she. Here's repose. Here's what may leave all painting and all music behind, and what poetry only can attempt to describe. Here's what may tranquilize every care and lift the heart to rapture. When I look out on such a night as this, I feel as if there could be neither wickedness nor sorrow in the world. And there certainly would be less of both if the sublimity of nature were more attended to and people were carried more out of themselves by contemplating such a scene. And all I can say to that is how true that is. I'm not saying that there aren't problems and difficulties, some of them serious in this world, but there is so much beauty in this world, and it does me good at least to stop and look at it and be inspired by it and refreshed by that, just like Fanny. It helps me to remember that whatever the problems are, there's good in the world too. And this is the other. This is the last time. I think this may be the last time that Fanny sees Mr. Crawford, and he wants her judgment about something, and he says, when you give your opinion, I always know what is right. Your judgment is my rule of right. And Fanny says, oh no, do not say so. We all have a better guide in ourselves if we would attend to it than any other person can be. That is so true. Some people call it a conscience, but it is so true. We all, deep down inside, we know what's right and what's wrong, and it is the best guide we could have to our actions. If only we would listen to it more. And I include myself definitely on the top of that list as one who should listen to my inner voice more. Hard to do that in this busy world sometimes, but worthwhile to make the time for that. So that is Mansfield Park. Wasn't planning on it, but I guess I have actually given a full review for that. So excellent. And I also finished Miss Austen. This is by Gil Hornby. So roughly half of this book is set in 1840. Cassandra Austen is pretty old. This may be the last serious trip she ever takes, but this is a trip to the house where her old friend Eliza used to be before she died years and years ago. And her husband just recently died, and since it's a parsonage, their unmarried daughter, Isabel, I think it might be Isabel. Anyway, she only has a couple months to arrange everything before the new vicar arrives to move in. And Eliza was in real life a dear friend of Cassandra and of Jane. So she has lots of letters. And Cassandra is determined to go through these letters and take any one she does not want posterity to see with her for the bonfire. And it talks a lot about this. What is a legacy? I mean, even when Isabel and her Aunt Mary are talking about Jane with, Mary's daughter, I forget what's her name. But yeah, talking about Jane, and the person they describe to this daughter slash niece slash, how is she related to Cassandra? Anyway, their description of Jane is not so much that Cassandra even recognizes, which is very interesting. So what is a legacy? I know biographers and such have been very sad that Cassandra burned a lot of letters, but on the other hand, is it really our business? And then the other half of this book goes back into the past, starting way back. In fact, I think the first one, Cassandra is engaged to Tom still. This is before he died within the next few years. Anyway, and so it links to events we do know that happened. Like we get Tom's death, we get the removal from the parsonage, we get the father's death, and things like that, or things that must have happened, like a visit to this relative, or trying to find cheaper lodgings in Bath, or things like that. They're connected to a lot of speculation of what might have happened. Why was Cassandra so concerned about some of these letters? And, well, not sure quite how I feel about that. Although it is true, we know for a fact that after moving out of the parsonage her father had been in since could have been her birth as far as I know, and even more after her father's death, she had some difficult times, evidenced at least in part by the fact that she did not write really during this time, other than letters, of course. But anyway, some interesting speculation on some of what may have been going on, and some interesting thoughts about legacies and things like that. I really, really enjoyed it. Not sure whether I like this as well as the other Bennett sister or not. They're both very, very high up there for me. Might have to flip a coin to say which I liked better. And I have finished an audiobook listening while at work, and that is Maisie Dobbs. I forget who the author is, but yes, I needed something very unlike Austen. So, Maisie Dobbs is actually kind of like Miss Austen in a way, in that we start in 1929. Maisie Dobbs is starting her own little investigation type business, kind of psychology too, and she gets her first case, meets a few people around her new office. Actually, she's been working towards this and doing this for years, But up until now, she has been working for her mentor, Maurice, who basically did the same kind of thing. But he's just retired, so now she's having to do all of this on her own and start making a name for herself. 1929, London. And before this, well, like I said, she gets her first case. Disgruntled husband who thinks his wife might be cheating on him. At any rate, he doesn't know why his wife leaves basically right after he leaves for work every Tuesday and Thursday. Gets back shortly before he does. So this leads to some questions, which leads to opening a lot of things about Maisie's past, about basically coming from the working class. After her mother died at about 12, 13, she was sent out into service to be a maid at a house. But she is extremely bright. In fact, her parents were saving money to send her to more than most of the basic of schools until her mother got sick and they had to spend it all on doctors and medicine and such. And one day she gets caught in the library reading by the mistress. Fortunately, the mistress, she is fairly understanding. She's a rather unusual person. Well, I say unusual. She's a suffragette. She believes in helping the poor and needy and things like that. She has come under the influence of Maurice, who is very broad-minded. And so, instead of forbidding Maisie books, she even helps her and connects her with Maurice. And from there, we learn exactly what has happened to Maisie, all from that time, events through all the events of the Great War, which had a great impact on her, given that she served as a nurse in France. So, and all of this past comes up as we find it's very relevant in her present investigation. A very interesting time period. Maisie's a very interesting character. Quite interesting. Very well done in portraying the time period, I think. Now, as for the mystery itself, well, it needs to be solved, but I'm not entirely sure. Well, Maisie coming to terms with her past is at least as important as this mystery she is investigating. Let's put it that way. It is a very serious book. It's World War I. There's war. Maisie's not actually on the front, of course, but she is at one of the nursing stations that's very close to the front. And so she's dealing with wounded soldiers. There's a talk about class. Why should Maisie be given all these opportunities when she's from the working class? And also, she's a girl. There's that to consider too. So, very interesting. Very serious. Not really any humor in it, which is okay. But because of that, a Poirot mystery is bright and sparkling for a mystery. And so I would be able to read several in a row. This is a series type of book I don't think I could plow through a series like this. I'll probably pick up more books in the series, but not immediately. Something that's going to have to simmer, I think. Have to be in the right mood for something so serious. I didn't find any of the descriptions uh, overly gratuitous, but I mean, it is war, so there are some descriptions, of course. Anyway, that is what I have read for the first half of the month. Hopefully, I can finish Jane Austen July on a strong note. Anyway, thank you for stopping by. I'd love to hear what you've been reading so far in July. I'd love to hear if you are participating in Jane Austen July. Any comments and suggestions, feel free to leave them. And so, until next time, I hope we all stay safe and healthy. And as always, happy reading!